Hey guys, this is Mark Owings, and I'm your host for the Unbridled Life podcast, where we have real, raw, and unreligious conversation to encourage and challenge men and women in their daily lives. Welcome to the Unbridled Life podcast. Super pumped today as I am every time that I get to do this. I have so much fun, and I've got one of my closest friends on, Steve Martinez, his friend Brad. I'm going to give them a chance to introduce themselves, tell you about their family a little bit, how many kids they have, but join and celebrating these two men. Steve, Brad, thanks for coming on today to the podcast.
Man, thanks for having us, Mark. Again, my name is Steve Martinez. I'm married, been married 21 years.
Whoop, whoop.
Have 3 kids, amazing, Eleanor, Ryder, and Maverick, 9, 15, and 17. We live in Weatherford. My beautiful wife is a school teacher at Stephen F. Austin Elementary. And man, we're just enjoying where God has us right now in this season.
It's a pretty cool season for you.
It is interesting season.
Brad, what about you? Tell us about your
Yeah, Brad Crawford, like you said, a good friend of Steve Martinez. Hey, I'm super blessed just to be here, share with you guys and just to hang out. But been married about 16 years, got 2 boys, active in the church, active in ministry, love God with all my heart, love America. And so just excited to be here and, share a little bit, about what's going on.
Come on.
For sure.
Well, I love it. Steve's wife is what do they call that?
Deaf education.
Mm-hmm. And if you watch her sign and teach kids, you just sit there and weep. It's one of my most favorite women in the world. And she's on our intercessory team. Yep. So Steve and I have been friends for a long, long time. And I've watched, I've always known he was marked by God to do something great. As a matter of fact, I've given Steve some words that were hard for him to receive and may still be hard to receive. But Steve, I've watched the enemy try to take you out several times. And I remember you had a motorcycle. I didn't want you to have this motorcycle. Yep. And you were newly married and you wrecked on that motorcycle and you were unrecognizable. And during that time, coming out of that trauma, a picture will be coming up. They'll see this. My little girl, that his kids call me Uncle Mark and my kids call him Uncle Stevie. But my daughter was very young at the time, and we made a book of Uncle Stevie, and she would pray over that book, and she would really get obsessed over that. That is he okay? Like years later, she would still be praying. So it was a very significant, I was called back into an ICU to identify you, and I couldn't identify my friend. The only way I could do that is I knew where a couple of scars were on his stomach, and I knew his legs. And I know that sounds weird, but we had traveled together. He's got really hairy legs. I lifted up and the scar was in the right place. I said, this is Steve Martinez. Yeah. But, the enemy really hunted and haunted you for a long time. And I think God was transitioning you from flesh to faith. Yeah. And so tell us a little bit, what did you learn after that trauma?
Oh my gosh. What I'm thankful for is Sarah being connected to you and Leslie. If you remember, you were the one who prophesied over me at church. The very first time I saw her performing sign language and worship.
Beautiful. Yep.
And I'm just sitting there looking at her, and you looked at me and said, "Hey, Bob, what you looking at?" I said, nothing. And you said, "Stevie, look at me. That's your wife up there." I didn't believe you because I thought, boy, she's too pretty. But here we are 21 years later. I'm thankful she was connected to you and Leslie, because that was a very difficult, emotional time for my wife to go through what she went through, not just discovering who her husband really was behind closed doors, which is for another time and it's another story for another time. But she really leaned into you guys. But it really taught me so much just about, my gosh, the power of prayer. And is my life being marked for something? Maybe so. And I was starting to believe it back then, but you've said it since day one. And it has been hard to receive, because you want to just look at yourself, and you want to look at the outside. And you were always willing. I don't know how you did it, but you always looked on the inside, and you were able to see something that I couldn't see.
Well, Steve, you don't know him like I do. Steve is a man of faith. He's also on my board at Elevate, and he's just a man of faith. And when I remember when he came on the board, we were away as couples, just getting time to rest.
Waco, Texas.
And I think you and Sarah took Leslie and I away and just blessed us. And they were so sweet, gave us the bedroom downstairs and just were honoring us the whole time. I was like, Steve, no, wouldn't do it. But God kept you up that night.
Yeah.
And you came on, and I was 53 at the time. And you said the Lord's made it really clear I'm supposed to come on the board.
Yes.
And you were on the board at one time and just took a rest in the season. You came back on. But what I love about you is you hear the word and you believe the word, and you're a faith guy. And so I've watched your marriage get attacked. I've watched you get attacked unbelievably, that I literally go, God, why? And I think the answer is, if you're out there and you feel like you're going through attack, let me give you an answer for this. God cares about you so much that he wants to develop the character in you to contain the call that he wants to give you. So it's through hardships that we get transformed and we get shaped. He takes us from a thimble to a larger container to carry his nature and character in our life. And Brad's got a totally different story. Brad, tell me about, you've just got the cool story. Everyone wants their kids to have this story.
Well, thanks, Mark. I don't want to be annoying, but I'm thinking back through my childhood at the church. I've been in the church since the womb, and I, even in searching for like bad memories, bad experiences, something like that, I just can't think of anything. I'm just so blessed. From a real young age, I was in a church in Abilene, Texas, Bethel Temple, name of the church. I don't even think it's in existence anymore. Wow. But a powerful church full of beautiful people that love God with all of their heart, and a spirit-filled church just full of exciting activity, vibrant worship, and encountering God. I remember the presence of the Lord. In fact, this is kind of funny, but my first real encounter with God, I was probably 6, 7 years old, maybe 5. My brother and I had matching turquoise sweatsuits, LA lights with the neon orange laces, and we went to a Ray Boltz concert, and he starts singing "Proud to Be an American" of all songs. It wasn't like Agnes Day or Amazing Grace. Proud to be an American. And man, the Spirit of the Lord hit me, and I was just weeping. Like, I just felt God. I felt his love. I felt his love for our country. I guess I felt liberty. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there's liberty.
Come on.
And so, just real, were there challenges and all that and family stuff? Yeah, I'm sure. But, just honestly thinking back, I just have the best of memories of being in church and, growing up in the church, growing up under great pastors, great leadership, great youth pastors. And so, yeah, that's been my experience in the church, and just blessed by it.
Well, I love your testimony. It's what every grandparent or parent hopes to do. And if you're out there and you're listening to this, there is a way to do that. One of the things we're talking for the show, Brad just said, they taught me about faith. They taught me the word, and I grew up believing that was the true realm. And so some of this is my words, but when you raise a child like that, and I think Brad's got a call on him. There's just an honor call on him when I'm around you. That's what I see. You honor. You're not gonna porpoise. You were built to auger down and not move, and you are passionate too. And you love world missions, and that really is a passion for you, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Yeah. When I see what Jesus said, go into all the earth, and I keep, someone said this and it just stuck with me, but as much as God loves America and we love America, God is not an American.
Come on. His first language is not English.
Yeah. So there's a world out there, and they all need Jesus. And so that really inspires me.
You took a mission trip, I think it was to India.
Yeah, so we've got a mission base in India. We've been working there about 4+ years. And recently branched into Nepal and Kenya. So, kind of growing, raising up leaders, especially in India. We've got about 30 pastors that we're supporting, raising up, and, unbelievable move of the Spirit, in these nations, especially in India. it's funny because I tell people, hey man, we got a mega church in India. We got like 5,000-6,000 people there in fellowship and in the church. And, which is not hard to do. It's a huge nation, over 1 billion people. So yeah, we've been super blessed.
But they're prayer warriors too. I mean, they get after prayer.
That's one thing that's unique about India. They understand the spirit realm. They understand the implications of prayer and sacrifice and the things of the spirit. So they know how to pray, no doubt.
Well, I've asked them to come on. Obviously, have a relationship with them and have been watching some of the things that they've got a purpose and a passion that's tied to a provision. And I said, man, y'all come on and share your story. And so I just want to open the gate. What are you two guys? God seems to have welded you two together for this purpose. So tell us the name of it and what's behind it. And I just want to let you guys take the ball and run with it.
Before Brad's he can spearhead this really well. But, Mark, I went through a pretty difficult transition in my life. Outside looking in, it almost looks like our life was turned upside down. Now we can see where it's really turned right side up. God showed us what's truly important, what truly matters in life. If you lose something that you think is yours, whatever the case is, God has an ability to show you what's truly important. I remember a guy told me one time when the Twin Towers were falling, he said there was a time when every person in those towers realized their fate.
Mm-hmm.
Some jumped out, some just clung, some cried. But he says there's not one person in either tower who wished they had closed another deal or wished they'd have bought that other house. All they could think about in that moment was their family, their eternity, and God.
Come on.
And what God is showing me is in these areas when you're broken and, man, life hits you pretty hard, you realize you cling to truth. Your daughter, your boys, your wife. And I have to say this, my wife looked at me one time and she says, look at me. Tell me what's the worst case scenario right now.
Mm.
And I said, I don't know. She goes, let me tell you.
We could lose everything.
We lose everything. Move in with your mom. Is that a worst case scenario? I go, pretty worse. She goes, we go bankrupt. Pretty worse. Okay, Steve, look at me. Our kids love God. They're in church. We have each other. We're healthy. We're not dependent on anybody. And I just said, you're right. So perspective is everything.
Man, you took the words right out of my mouth. If you're listening to this podcast or watching us on YouTube, you need to hear me say this. Part of our problem is we have our perspective. And our perspective is usually filled with pride, fear, rejection, trauma, and unbelief. But when we transition and we look through the eyes of King Jesus, everything changes. You look at the greats throughout the Bible or throughout history, that they weren't trying to save their life. They were trying to lose their life. And it's kind of the motto of what Jesus said. Listen, if you're going to follow me, you got to drop everything and pick up a cross. Here's what I want to tell you is you can't carry your crap in the cross too. You're going to have to let that down. And crap means totally different to me. Crap means confess, repent, anoint, and pray. You let that go and you have a spiritual bowel movement and you let go of the things of this world and you pick up the cross. It's the most passionate thing you will ever do, filled with purpose. And it has a provision cycle to this. And so, Stevie, I love it. And I've got front row seats and I'm going to have front row seats. I'm going to have them there. I will see this man stand in front of thousands. I will introduce him and I will look right at him right in front of those people and say, I told you so. And what I mean that is God said it to you before it was going to happen. And so y'all are, tell us about this.
Well, it's funny because I found myself at 51 years old starting over again.
Right.
What do you do? And I told the Lord, I said, I know that I love to sell stuff, but everything I've been a part of has been because I've been passionate about it. I believed in it. And so here I am, 51 years old. Brad and I have been friends. We go to church together and we're in a home group, and he mentions something. He mentions a SuperPac. And I said, what is it? He goes, I'm not sure, but it's God's SuperPac. And he plants little seeds in my brain. And months later, here we are. But I think it's very wise to let Brad share kind of the vision of what we understand today as God's SuperPac.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. we mentioned kind of the other nations and things we're working in, but a short time ago, the Lord just spoke to me and said, what about America? What are we doing in America, Brad? And around that time, I started kind of fellowshipping with some people who were putting together this SuperPac. Piqued my interest. I didn't understand what it was. It took me a while. And so as they kind of unfolded the plan and we sort of got under the hood to see a little bit more about it, it just really got super interesting, and it became and sort of evolved into what it is, which it's really, although it's a super PAC, it's the God super PAC.
Come on.
It's not political per se. It's spiritual. And at the core, it's not right versus left, red versus blue. It's good versus evil. And so the way I see it, and the best way for me to communicate it is, this is a movement. It's a grassroots movement where people can connect to something to do for America, something to do for the kingdom of God, something to do for the people of this nation, and get behind something that's making a difference to unify. And there's all kinds of stats, and of course we could drop the data and everything, but the church hasn't really been great at voting, and hasn't really been great at unifying in a lot of ways.
Nope, neither one.
And so this is just sort of a brilliant God idea to kind of accomplish those things, get people active in a way that makes a difference with politics from a spiritual perspective, and then also coming together with a mission, with a purpose. And so the mantra of the God Super PAC is kind of the slogan, the catchphrase is, America can only be saved by God or through God. And so it's lifting our eyes from, elections. Of course, we got a big one coming up. There's lots of spiritual implications, but it's lifting our eyes up to God. It's lifting our eyes up to King Jesus, and knowing that regardless of what happens, whether it's Kamala, Donald Trump, or Donald Duck, the church is going to be together. We're going to continue our purpose. We're going to continue trusting in God, and we're going to thrive. We're not just going to survive. We're going to thrive in the midst of anything and everything that's going on.
Brad, I love what you're saying. So let me define this for you. Super PAC, PAC, is a political action committee. What they're saying is that they're not focused from the political side of this, and the church has misunderstood this. It's about the policies that come from the spiritual world of God's kingdom. There are two forces fighting right now. This is dark and light. If you still think this is Democrat and Republican, and sometimes I get confused and get passionate about things, it's not. It's about dark and light. It's about the legacy that we're going to live. And I love this. The reason this Super PAC is so interesting, Steve, you were telling me some stats on Super PACs right now that are political action committee. Who really owns those?
Typically, all Super PACs, if you look at the stats, and it's typically 80% of all the donations that come in are controlled by about 180 to 185 families.
Scary.
So it is scary. So they're in control of where that money and how that money is used and handled. And so with God's Super PAC, they put that right and that power back into the community, the network affiliates,
the people
own it. And so it comes back to us. And the great thing is, on a local level, my school board, local elections, very few Christians are willing to give in support of that. And this makes it a great way for you to absolutely support it. So
that's pretty crazy to me that when a small fraction of people control the majority, that was never designed in America. It's for the people, by the people, and we're taking it back. So I've never heard of a Super PAC doing this, that they're going to empower people. So their purpose is to tell us what the purpose is.
It's unprecedented, but you can share how it actually works, Brad.
Yeah, I mean, for me, and this is important to say, because what drives me is that, we all know there's lots of things happening. You mentioned good versus evil, dark versus light. That's what we're up. There's evil has been and is converging upon our nation. And so people say, well, the world is ending, the rapture, World War III, government conspiracy, da-da-da. They go on and say, okay, so say I believe that. What do we do?
That's
what are you
question
doing?
Everyone wants to know is how can I be a part? And I love this.
So if someone says that to me and then they sit on the couch all day, I'm questioning how serious they are, or are they just regurgitating something they've heard? Or, for me, this is something to do. You want something to do, you want to put action behind your conviction. This is what the God SuperPac is, and it's a purpose for that. And what separates and kind of makes it unprecedented, makes it different, is that it puts the power back in the hands of we the people. It's for taking the resources from politicians that are just sending mailers that go in the trash or running commercials that people mute. And it's taking the funds and resources that are making those ads and putting those funds back in the hands of we the people. So the money that comes in, it comes back down into the hands of John Smith on the street. And you can, and the idea is, we know that regardless of who's in Washington, and you think back to like what happened during COVID, if you had a good solid conservative mayor, DA, sheriff, local judges, even school board, city council members, if those guys and girls were in place, then your liberties were protected. That's where day-to-day life is affected, not so much in Washington or in Congress. It's in your local communities, local governments.
Right
so
on.
The idea is to take the money from Washington and put it, they say from Washington back to Main Street, and let us, get power. People get lulled to sleep, and I don't want to get on a soapbox, Steve, but you can get lulled to sleep and begin to depend upon the government to help, and we can forget the government is not there as our provider or protector. There has never been a government put in place to help the people in terms of resources or anything like that. The government was there to protect and is there to protect our freedoms. The government is not an authority over us. We are an authority over the government in America.
And that's not what's happening. It's been flipped on our head because we acquiesced away from school boards, local judges. We didn't understand what it mattered. I understood it only in the first term of Donald Trump. Like, why is Oregon on fire? Why is Seattle and all these? Like, why can't the federal government go in there and just stop that with the National Guard? Because Mark, you don't want federal to overstep state. The reason those were liberal-minded people that were running, and they wanted chaos. If you aren't seeing it yet, winning the election is not their goal. Creating chaos is their goal, and taking power from the people and making this nation into what it was never designed to be. And it's socialism, it's Marxism, it's communism, all the isms. But here's where we've got to get back. Our nation bowed its knee to Jesus Christ, and we got away from that. So the super PAC that they're talking about, what I loved about it is it's only $10 to sign up, and you do that a month. And so the purpose is to unite Christians together to vote, not for just this election. I mean, this is, as we're speaking, this super PAC is growing so fast. And there's a passion behind this. It's not just political, because you're going to take those funds, and there's a provision side of this for you too. And that's awesome. I don't really care about that. I care about the purpose of it and the passion of it. What are we going to do with the money? How and who are we going to put in? Honorable. To me, Washington is the death of common sense on both sides of this thing. It's just like common sense. It's like two kids fighting all the time. Okay, so we're gonna be a part of this. It's called
God's Super PAC.
God's Super PAC, or My God Super PAC.
My God Super PAC.
My God Super PAC. This will all be in show notes. You can go on there. I want you guys to give emails if you guys want to sign up. Part of the provision is going to go where? I love this. When it was sex trafficking, I just was like, okay, I signed up. I'm like, dude, I'm in.
Yeah. What makes this so great, Mark, is that It is within reach of everybody. Everybody can participate. It's $10. I told my wife, I said, we don't know one person who doesn't support the right to protect children from sex trafficking. I don't know anybody who doesn't support fair elections. I don't know anyone who doesn't support border security. And there's several others. But when we give $10 a month as a commitment, as a pledge, it comes out monthly. A portion of that goes towards 6 different causes. A portion goes towards administrative, and then the rest is brought right back into your hands to use on a local level.
But so sex trafficking,
fentanyl fathers, we have border security, we have fair elections, voter turnout, we have, I forgot the other 2, Brad.
You mentioned border protection, fentanyl fathers. There's
fentanyl alone,
military.
Yeah, the PTSD. There's a big organization there that supports soldiers, troops, dealing with PTSD.
Let's stop there, because this is. I work a lot in Florida with Fully Alive. We've got from SEAL team guys, commandos, regular workers in the military, generals have come through this. The one thing that our government has failed at is taking care of vets, because they were never designed to. And I love this. This super PAC can grow so big that a vet can be a part of this $10 a month and sign up for this. And the provision piece of this is crazy. It's not network marketing. It's almost a collective unity and a harmony of the people. And it reminds me of Acts. The book of Acts, where they bought and sold and everyone had no need. And that's what the body of Christ does. When you're really in a body, a community that is faith-based on Jesus Christ and the Word of God, it's hard for you to keep things in your bank when your friend doesn't have anything. And you take part of what you have and you give it to them so that you can bring them back up after they've gone through a hard time. I think that's the heart behind this God Super PAC, is to create policies that are common sense, to put people back in, to help and address. Just think about this alone. The military PTSD, just because you aren't affected, I promise you, if you'll stop and think, somebody in your church or in your family that's facing that issue. Fentanyl has killed more kids and more people than anywhere, and it should not be allowed. And it's being allowed by government officials on both sides. That's easy to secure a border. It's easy to take care of that. But we've got to make that a point. And here's the problem with Washington. If it doesn't fill their pockets, they're not interested. This God Super PAC is not about, it's about, hey, yes, small administration cost. We're going to take these funds and we're going to set policies in place, and policies are carried by people who have character and honor. But the provision piece of this, tell me a little bit about that, because that's not just donating $10 a month. As you sign up and you're going through this, walk me through that.
Well, just to give people peace of mind, we're highly regulated by the SEC, because this is unprecedented. This has never happened before. And it comes through the vision of 2 amazing men. I'll let Brad share a little bit about how it comes back to the group and community of network affiliates.
Yeah, but I do want to say too that, and it's important to note that there's really 7 pillars, and the organizations that the Super PAC funds, apart from just the affiliates and the people of the Super PAC that the funds come to, they are not government or just nonprofit organizations. These are ministries. These are conservative Christian ministries, gospel-centric organizations. So it's not just, here's some medicine for your PTSD.
You're not sending money to the Red Cross.
Exactly. You're getting money to people that they're preaching the gospel. They're getting people to Jesus. It's Christ in the center of all of these organizations. Right. So that's an important note. And as far as the 60% of the funds and the resources that come back to the network within the Super PAC. So you join. You're going to put your treasure where your heart is, your big $10 a month subscription. Well, 60% of that goes back into the network, into the SuperPac, and then those who are in the network with you, whether it's your friends, your family, or just people that from your workplace that subscribe, that you bring in, then they're going to be contributing basically to your resources. So you're going to get a percentage of all the people that you bring in, and all the people that bring you in are going to get a percentage of your subscription. So help me out, Steve.
Yeah.
What else would you say about that?
No, I think, well, there's you get paid out on a unilevel pay structure.
Okay.
And so you bring in a lot of people, because I'm telling everybody right now, and it's funny, I just talked to a friend yesterday and I said, hey, listen, can you support me $10 a month? I need your help. And he says, what's that? I go, I'll tell you all about it, but I need your support, $10 a month. And we're fighting to get our country back, fighting to protect our country. And I know some men who were a part of this who are extremely wealthy, and they realize money doesn't matter if we lose our freedom of speech.
Millions of dollars setting this up.
Yep. Very similar to the NRA.
Yeah.
The NRA, you are paying a monthly subscription fee to join an ideology that you believe in. And they do everything in their power to help you support your right to bear arms. They'll send people, lobbyists to Washington to help you support that. What I love about this is a group of people together saying, you know what, we're going to come together, an army of a community of believers, and we're going to champion to fight for our First Amendment, which is freedom of speech, freedom of religion.
Come on.
And I'm telling you that if our freedom of speech gets removed, freedom of religion is not far behind.
And you think he's kidding right now? During COVID, there were pastors being left and right being arrested for opening up the church. In Australia, one Australian pastor said it this way: America, if you want to see your destiny, look at us, because we're 10 years ahead of you in what's happening. And so there's a wicked darkness. I'm not about people. I'm not promoting Donald Trump or Kamala or any of that. Wipe that all away. It is darkness, and it is seeded throughout generations. Why? Because it wants to take the legacy of America. I was with this group of people. They asked me to come and just pray for a couple of people. I met some pastors in India, and one of the things that I was so blown away by Pastor Augie is he just said this: I came because I wanted to say thank you to America. I wanted to say thank you to America. I said, tell me a little more about that. And he's sharing with us. He said, listen, America changed my life, and the friends and family and the salvations that came, the provisions, the food, the water, the missionaries that came all out of America. We were with another friend that was from Guatemala. He said, I feel the same way. He said, it wasn't Indians coming to Guatemala to help us. It wasn't the Middle East coming. It wasn't UK. It wasn't Canada. It was American missionaries going in and helping these people. And now they've been over here and assimilated in, and they want to get back to America. Right. That's who's kind of pastoring the call of this. And I met him, and I was like, for $10 a month, we need to get real. You've been wondering, how do I change America? This is how you change America.
That's right.
You join, you get your friends to join, and we convert money into a currency of policies that help people like PTSD, like fentanyl, that has destroyed people's life. No one out here listening to me right now is not going, yeah, I know a friend, a family member, a daughter, a cousin, a niece, a nephew who have it. I lost a really sweet young man that I took on the mission field to Honduras. He got hooked on drugs, ended up going to prison, and ended up dying this year. Yes, it is early this year. That I just go, why do we have such access? And he grew up in South Lake, Texas. Very privileged. This isn't about the Chicago inner city or about South Lake, Texas. This darkness is invading everywhere. I want to give you guys last words. I want you to give emails, how to get in contact, because I'm not going to be a part of that. But
I do want to share one thing, Mark. A lot of people are looking, saying, okay, you say there's provision, because there is the purpose behind this. We have passion, but there is a provision side to this. But I tell people, if you make this about money, you've missed it.
Yes.
I tell my boys, and I ask them a lot of rhetorical questions. I'll ask Maverick and Ryder, do you believe God's word? And they'll say yes. I'll say, okay, then you believe when the word of God says our life here on earth is but a vapor. We'll look at guys vaping. And I don't know if you've ever seen vape come out. Mark, it comes out so much, but as quick as it comes out, it's gone.
That's our life.
And here I am telling my boys, how are we living our life on earth? What are we doing with the riches that God's entrusted us with? So as he gave me a passion in something that I can put my full belief in, I'm realizing, what are you going to do with the provision? I want to do everything I can to make decisions that bless the kingdom, because I promise you, Jesus is coming. And if we keep our focus on that, I think I can't worry about how they're going to use this money. We've got to think about what the power that he's going to give us to be able to affect our community, that affect our children, that affect their children, is what I'm focused on. So there is a provision side of this, and you can reach out to Brad or I. Do you want us to give phone numbers, emails?
You can do anything you want. I'd be careful with your phone number, but I'd do emails.
Yeah, you can just direct everything to Steve. That'd be great. Just to simplify things, steve@superiortortillas.com. But I do want to say, the last thing, and there's so much stirring in my heart right now, but we're in a time where we have to take the religious mentality, set it aside, because listen, there's people that are wicked in high places from the enemy's camp. I know we don't battle against flesh and blood. I understand that, but there's devils and demons that have instigated ideologies and instigated men and women in high places that are right now, as we speak, pulling together resources, and they're funding and making moves to implement their ideologies and impose what they believe to be true that's actually wicked upon the population of America and the population of this earth. And so as the church, we have to put aside our religious mentality, forget everything that many misconceptions about resources, finances, and those types of things. And we have to understand it's time to make moves. It's time to pull our resources together. It's time to do something. And this is something to do. And I've talked to a lot of people recently, and I want to speak to this. There's people that are giving up. They say America's gone, it's beyond hope, but I'm telling you that's not true. The church is rising up. We're rising up together. We're banding together. America will not fall. The devil will not write the last chapter in this nation. He won't write the last chapter of your life. And we are coming together, and we are making moves in this time. And we're going to make a difference and make a change beyond the election, beyond 2024, in the short term, midterm, long term. And this is just a great opportunity to do that. We have to forsake all else in this moment. There's so much hanging on the balance and in the balance for just the very near future. We have to forsake all else and put 100% of ourselves, resources, and efforts behind maintaining this great nation of America. And that's what we're going to do. There is one bastion of liberty in this world, and that's the United States of America. If America falls, talk to anybody else in the world. If America falls, then
you're right on.
We're done. So we can't let that happen, and we won't let it happen. Don't be in fear, be in faith, and just join up. Hook up to the gospel, hook up to God, forget about everything else. Let's do this thing.
I love it. Steve and I are passing notes back here, being distracted, because I'm just like, everything that you're saying just gets me so fired up. Y'all, when you think about, and I can't resist, this isn't them saying it, this is me saying it. This is Mark Owings saying, Kamala's actually running on taking our finances and spending money to do sex changes on prisoners who identify as a different person. Y'all, instead of getting someone mental health and loving them, she's running on a slogan that I just go, well, I'm not against Kamala, but that's obviously wicked, wrong on every front. And so when you say that, all missionaries around the world right now are saying, if you fall, Christianity will be persecuted around the world. And maybe we're there. Maybe we're there. And if it is, it's great. But I think God always invites us into a moment to partner with him to be a light. And we see it throughout the Gospels. So one more time, I'm going to give you guys a chance.
My email address that people can reach us at is s.h.martinez80@gmail.com.
And this will be in show notes. Give it one more time.
s.h.martinez80@gmail.com.
Could you have made that email any longer? Dear Lord.
But if you're curious about how this got started, who are the founders? Who is the CEO? How did this get developed? We're then more than happy to share that with you because it is exciting.
It is exciting. Well, guys, it was so awesome. Brad, when you're sitting there talking, sorry, we're distracted, but he got me so passionate. What he said, I don't know if you need to go back and listen to that one more time because it's so true. And I'm so grateful that you joined us today. We're so mindful of your time. We want to promote, encourage, and connect people. We want to be real, authentic, but we do have a part to play in what we call this season of life. And we can't sit back and just do nothing. And I've said 100 times before, what do? I just need someone to tell me what to do. Well, when I heard this, I signed up. I want to support people who do this. It's enough that you're helping these, but the provision side of this, what you showed me, is crazy. And that's great. I know God will supply, but maybe this is an answer for you right now that you were trying to find something that you can invest in that would invest back into you. And if that is, then you can connect with these guys and learn more about it. Brad, Steve, thanks for coming on and just sharing with us. Thank you for what you're doing for our nation.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mark.
Well, guys, thanks for joining us. We want to pray for you. If you need prayer at elevatehim.com, and listen to this.
Thanks so much for listening to the Unbridled Life podcast. We know your time is valuable, and we hope we bring real and relevant content that helps you live that unbridled life. If you want to help us spread the message, you can rate or review the podcast on whatever platform you like to listen to us and share it with a friend or two. If you want to know more about who we are and what we're doing, head on over to theunbridledlifepodcast.com and learn more.